Hey everybody, it's ShadowStar here, and welcome back to another review for the Pokemon anime. This time, it's Ash's adventures through the Hoenn region. So, we'll start off with a little backstory. Obviously, as I've said before, I have a huge nostalgia bias for the Hoenn region and Ash's journey through it. Obviously, that is a huge chunk of my childhood, so going into it, I was already very fond of it, and I was wondering whether it was purely nostalgia, and spoiler alert, honestly, it's not just nostalgia holding this up. There's a lot of good stuff about this. For one thing, I do actually like the format change. I like the newer companions, I like the new way they handle things, and most importantly, the pacing is incredible. That's not to say there isn't filler, but compared to Johto, where there was filler everywhere, there is pretty much no room for filler. There is such good pacing that you barely go 3 or 4 episodes before something important happens. You're always having another gym battle, contest, or a Pokemon evolving. Because there's more characters and more stuff to do, there's less room for filler. Plus, Hoenn only takes place over about 2.5 seasons, so again, less room to worry about stuff. We're only covering his journey from the beginning of Hoenn to the end of Hoenn. I'll do Battle Frontier later. But let's talk about Ash himself. Ash, once again, is even more confident. He had a good go in the Johto League, but he's oftentimes become a little too impatient or arrogant. He's always in a rush to get to a gym battle, like incredibly so. Every time he gets to a town, he'll want to put everything off just to go rush to the gym leader. It becomes somewhat annoying, but it also becomes a plot point in some of the gym battle episodes, mainly the Brawly one. The pro, however, is because of May being less experienced than him, we get to see Ash actually use the experience he's had through all these regions and sort of be a mentor or a guide to her, especially early on when she doesn't know what she's doing. We also get to see Ash actually training his Pokemon whenever he needs to train for a gym. You see him training his Pokemon or teaching his Pokemon new moves, such as the biggest highlight, Pikachu finally learns a new move, Iron Tail. Let's just say Pikachu gym battles got a bit boring. It's just, okay, quick attack or thunder shock. But now that he's got Iron Tail, oh boy, it's much better. And it'll get even better in seasons to come. But Pikachu learning Iron Tail, a huge upgrade. But let's talk about his Pokemon. As he did at the end of Johto, he left all his Pokemon behind except Pikachu. On the one hand, it means throughout Hoenn we won't see any of his old Pokemon except for a very brief cameo by Bulbasaur. On the plus side, it means that all of his new Pokemon get a chance to shine and don't get overshadowed by older Pokemon. There's less Pokemon since he's only having a 6 team, which means no one really gets put to the side, although some still do. Let's start off with the first thing he caught, Taylor. Taylor, it's hard to define if Taylor had a personality. It was definitely resilient and it had an enjoyable first episode. And it did have quite a few gym battles, such as its gym battle against Winona and Liza and Tate, and one thing we see is it's incredibly resilient against electricity. That actually becomes a plot point in a certain gym, even though it's executed in a rather infamous way. We also have the training time where Swallow learns to have Aerial Ace, and we also have it evolving during the Poke Ringer competition, an episode I absolutely love. Then you've got Trico, who Ash seems to get quite a few Pokemon which are quite aggressive and gung-ho in this season. Trico's another one. He's got some good gem battles against Roxanne and Brawly, and also Grovyle has some good gym battles later on, but other than that, it's just his personality. He's a bit, stubborn, he's a bit gung-ho, but all in all, he's Ash's aggressive Pokemon. When he evolves, he's a bit like Charizard, if Charizard obeyed. Then you've got Corphish, the Pokemon that just doesn't have a personality beyond the fact that, okay, it causes trouble. It's a bit like Totodile in a way. It causes trouble and does some weird things, gets aggressive, causes trouble with Pokemon it shouldn't, but that's about it. It has a few good battles here and there, but that's about it for Corphish. It's a water type, it does good against Flannery. Then you've got his last two Pokemon. Torkoal, again, Torkoal unfortunately doesn't do much. I think it has maybe it has a couple of good battles in the Pokemon League. I don't think it had any decent battles in gyms. And honestly, outside of that, it doesn't have a memorable personality other than just the fact of, oh look, it cried or it blew a lot of smoke everywhere. Then you've got Snorunt, who, on one hand, he was a fun Pokemon and he was cute, but he was gotten so late into the adventure that not much happened with him other than having a little training arc where he had to learn Ice Beam. And the sad part is, Snorunt doesn't even come with him to Battle Frontier, so honestly, Snorunt and Glalie, they don't get to do much other than, oh, Snorunt learned Ice Beam, it evolved into Glalie at the Grand Festival, and that's about it. It did help in the battle against Morrison, but that's about it. Sadly, it's a bit like Phanpy, where it was caught way too late and wasn't used much. Let's talk about Ash's gym battles, and for the most part, they're an improvement over Johto's gym battles, which are already quite forgettable. I mean, I may have spoken high praise about them, but that was when Johto's gym battles were fresh in my mind. I'm already forgetting half of them. But Hoenn's memorable, although that's maybe because I've seen them quite a few more times. The Roxanne gym battle? Memorable, because that's the debut of Pikachu learning Iron Tail. And it's the first time Pikachu learns Iron Tail, and it's his first gym battle in Hoenn. Then you've got his Brawly gym battle, the first time Ash loses a gym in Hoenn, and it just shows how aggressive and impatient Ash has become. On the plus side, this is an improvement for Ash because it leads to a training arc where he spends several episodes actually training his Pokemon. He takes training seriously, and the rematch is actually a fun gym battle because it's not in a regular gym, so we get to have a more interesting environment. Then you've got the disappointing one, Watson. Due to an incident with a robot, Pikachu one-shots Watson's entire team. And Ash still gets a badge, and even after they realize what went wrong, Ash wants to give the badge up, but he says no, keep it, so Watson was a forgettable one. Now you've got Flannery. Flannery at least had a fun personality, and we had a good episode beforehand. That's the thing. Most of these gyms at least have episodes before or after, which give the gym leaders personality. Flannery was one of them, and it was at least an interesting gym battle because he had stuff like Yawn and Overheat, which would be frustrating, and I think it was one of the only times Corphish had a time to shine. Then you've got Norman. Of course, Ash already lost to Norman's Vigoroth way at the beginning, but then he gets to have a good battle with Grovyle and Pikachu, and it's one of the rare times abilities come up. Now that we're in Gen 3, occasionally abilities will get mentioned, and both Pikachu's Static and Grovyle's Overgrow get mentioned. This is like one of the rare, if not only times, Pikachu's Static is ever mentioned. So, yeah, that was at least a fun gym battle, and I think it was a good highlight battle for Grovyle. Then you've got Winona, who, of course, this time it's Swellow's time to shine. Get it? Because she had a shiny Swellow? But still, it was a good gym battle. It's a Swellow versus Swellow match. Flying matches can often be pretty fun to watch for some reason. That's about it. But now we get to Liza and Tate. Okay, they have fun personalities and I enjoyed their episode leading up to it. But we can't talk about Liza and Tate without talking about Thunder Armor. Okay, on one hand, yes, Thunder Armor's a weird Deus Ex Machina. We all know that. It doesn't make sense. Or does it? As I said before, it's been shown through multiple episodes that Taylor/Swellow has an extreme resilience to electricity and is oftentimes seen taking it very easily and can just withstand it. So Ash actually uses that. He says Swellow can handle it. So although Thunder Armor doesn't quite make sense, the fact that Swellow could handle it has been established. And honestly, as silly as it is, in the moment, it was kind of cool to see. I know it's silly, I know it doesn't make sense exactly, but it was still kind of cool in the moment. maybe it was just the choreography and the music, but it was still a cool moment. So honestly, I don't hate Thunder Armor as much as other people. Then you've got the gym. Then for our one last gym battle, we have Hoenn. The gym, which despite being the last gym and using 5 Pokemon, is kind of forgettable because there's this weird 2-on-2 battle followed by a bunch of 1-on-1 battles that honestly get tricky and annoying to keep track of. And honestly, all I can really remember is the ending where Pikachu beats Milotic, which will get repeated later, and for some reason, Grovyle gets one-shotted by a Love Disc. You heard me. Grovyle, a grass type and one of Ash's best Pokemon, is one-shotted by one of the weakest Pokemon in existence, which is not even good against grass types. What? Okay. Then you've got the Hoenn League. Now, there's some pros and cons. On one hand, it's not as memorable as the Johto League. On the other hand, it does have some good points. One good point people have pointed out is we see a bunch of battles, which, although the characters aren't memorable, we actually see them, because later seasons will just kind of skip over the battles that don't involve major characters. Whereas here, we see Ash battle a bunch of people who, although they have no personality, at least we get to see the battles that Ash is supposed to have, and at least it feels like they used all the time in the league effectively. It had 7 episodes, and it didn't feel like any time was wasted. So on that's a good note. The downside, like I said, outside of Morrison and Tyson, his other opponents had no personality and were never seen outside the battle, whereas in Johto League, you had Casey and Jackson, who were at least memorable characters outside their battles. It was fun to see double battles, and it was fun to see the battles against Tyson and Morrison, and the plus side is, because Ash is only using his Hoenn team, no one gets overloaded because he has to have multiple 6-on-6 battles, so everyone gets some good chance to shine multiple times. We do, of course, have his Hoenn rivals. We have Morrison, who's meant to be Ash's kind of, doppelganger. He's aggressive, he's competitive, but it's a bit like, except he can't handle the fact that he's got to battle Ash. It's a little bit like the inverse of Richie, where Ash couldn't handle it. And then you've got Tyson, who, honestly, he's a lot like Harrison. The only difference is he's got this Meowth that has a rival with Team Rocket's Meowth, and that's about it. But honestly, the Hoenn League, while fun to watch and it was a lot of good battles, the characters all pretty forgettable, and it's like a mixture of the Kanto and Johto League, just more boring. Kanto was memorable because of how stupid it was. Johto's just memorable because I love it. Hoenn League, it was kind of a eh. But we've talked about Ash. What about his other characters? Obviously, we've got brand new character, May. And unlike with Misty and Brock, May is an actual character with a goal. She is actually a secondary protagonist, most seen by the fact that the very first Hoenn episode opens from her perspective, not Ash's. It quickly joins back with Ash, but it starts off with her journey. You get to see it through her eyes. This is a great way to this to me is a good idea. You get to keep Ash and his experience, but if you want a fresh experience, you can watch May. And that's what I love. You get to see May. And because Ash and May are alone for the first few episodes, it's fun to see them both on their own handling things. It honestly takes quite a few episodes before May even realizes what she wants to do, because May didn't originally have a goal. She just wanted to travel, but eventually she fell in love with contests, and it is such a much more enjoyable arc. Contests are way more fun to watch than gym battles. Gym battles are cool, but contests lead to way better rivals, interesting one-off characters, and just I enjoy the dynamic. Sure, the Hoenn contests sometimes left a little to be desired, but the later contests are way better. And it's just fun to see May in her contests. She has a loss at first, she meets Drew, but then she gets going. She gets some good confidence, wins a few ribbons, has to lose again because, like Ash, she gets a little overconfident, needs to be told a lesson, but then she keeps on going. And honestly, like I said, contests are great. There's quite a few good one-off characters in the episodes where she does win ribbons, and she also has some good rivals, which we'll get into in a minute. But what about May's Pokemon? We have her Torchic, which is a Combusken. When it's a Torchic, it barely does anything. Torchic never actually entered a contest before evolving. It also doesn't do much. It's always just a scaredy cat who does nothing until the episode where it finally gains confidence and evolves into Combusken is actually an enjoyable fighter to watch. And then it did have some good battles and contests. Then you've got Beautifly, her main motivation for getting contests. For one thing, the episode where she catches a Wurmple was great because it was one of the first times you really saw May step up to the plate on her own, back when she was still a new trainer and wasn't sure what she was doing. And of course, Beautifly became the ace of her team and had I don't know if you call it a rivalry with Jessie's Dustox. Then we move on to her most adorable Pokemon, Skitty, who, let's face it, it is just the cutest thing you'll ever see every single time it exists. So of course she had to catch it. And obviously it gets to have a bit of a randomization because Skitty knows Assist. Assist is going to pull out random moves from her team, so she'll use it in contests and not always know what she's doing, which on one hand could be a clever thing because it shows how well she could think on the spot. Other times it just shows she doesn't know what she's doing. Again, like Ash, she teaches her Pokemon moves because we get to see Skitty learn Blizzard. And then you've got her Bulbasaur. May starts to catch Kanto Pokemon, and this time she gets a Bulbasaur who, it's a bit like a baby version of Ash's. Unlike Ash's, which is confident, hers is a bit of a baby version, which doesn't know what it's doing at first. It eventually gets good and has some good contest matches, but at first it's a baby, and it was in the contest where she lost. But I don't know, Bulbasaur's not as memorable, and it doesn't stick around as much compared to Beautifly and Skitty. Then you've got her Munchlax. Yeah, you heard me, a Sinnoh Pokemon. We're still 1.5 seasons away from Sinnoh, and May has caught a Munchlax. Unfortunately, like Runt, it's caught so late in the game, it does nothing. It's caught right before the Grand Festival, doesn't participate in the Grand Festival, so Munchlax doesn't do much. For now, Munchlax does follow her to Battle Frontier, so it'll get time to shine later, but up for now, it hasn't done much, but that's not its fault, it's got plenty of time to shine later. Then you got the Grand Festival. It's like one big mega contest, which is kind of like the Pokemon League arc. The unfortunate thing is, this Grand Festival had really bad pacing. It spent so much time with Harley, who, yes, Harley's a great character and I love him, and he's one of my favorite rivals, but it took 2 whole episodes for May just being tricked by Harley, and then they crammed all the good, important battles into one last episode. Harley's great, he's a great character, he has plenty of great moments, I enjoy his battle style, his rivalry with May, and he has good moments here and good moments to come. You've got Drew, who's a bit like Gary after Gary softened up. He's not a jerk to everyone, he just kind of teases May here and there, and he eventually kind of settles down, but is still her rival ultimately, and has a strong relationship with her. And of course, Drew is actually the one who beats her in the Grand Festival and in her first contest. But that doesn't mean Drew's the one who won the Grand Festival. That was actually a random person we met called Robert, although they at least tried to give him personality when he helped Ash evolve Glalie. But hey, it's something. At least May had rivals. Harley and Drew are very memorable. Ash has no rivals in Hoenn except for the people he meets for the Hoenn League. But we've done Ash and May. What about the others? We've got Brock, and I've said this before, although he's kind of enjoyable, he doesn't have a goal, and he's the parent of the group. And as I said, the first few episodes where Brock isn't here are really enjoyable because it's fun to see Ash and May on their road without having Brock to fall back on. It's a bit like what I said in the Orange Islands. When he's not there, it allows them to step up and be smart. I love episodes where they're separated and May or Ash or Max have to do something without him. So honestly, I don't have anything against Brock personally, but I think he just holds back the rest of the team. It's a real shame. And he honestly doesn't have many episodes that highlight him as a good character in the Hoenn seasons either. He has his fortress, which he kept from Johto, which didn't do much in Johto, and quite frankly, it doesn't do much in Hoenn either. Honestly, probably because Fortress can't do much in battle. You've got Mudkip, who had an adorable first episode, and it does have quite a few good episodes, because it's kind of more like Brock, it's a bit of the parent of the group of Pokemon. Whenever there's problems going on with all the people's group of Pokemon, Mudkip is the one trying to fix things. Then you've got Lotad, who started off as a bit odd because he wouldn't do anything. It's a bit like Psyduck, where he'd take a second to actually do something, then he'd do something strong. Then it evolves into Lombre, where it wouldn't do anything at all. Then you get Ludicolo, who's the exact opposite and fun. But all in all, I feel like, well, to be fair, I think they gave the most characterization to Lotad and its evolved forms. But at the same time, because it's Brock, I don't feel like any one of them got defining moments or any moments to stand out. Now let's move on to Max. A character the fandom seems to hate way too much. He's right up there with Tracy. But unlike Tracy, I don't hate him. Max, however, is a character who, in my mind, is severely underrated, and as a kid, he was one of my favorite characters, so as a kid, anytime he got a Spotlight episode, I was very happy, and most of his Spotlight episodes are really good, and honestly, I don't mind him in the episodes where he's not the Spotlight character. He has lots of good moments, and honestly, I don't get why people claim he's annoying. He's not annoying. He's enjoyable and he has clever moments. He's often a voice of reason when it comes to, pointing out things with Pokemon, and also has lots of nice moments. Although he never catches Pokemon, he has good episodes where he befriends a Poochyena, a Shroomish, a Shuppet. He has a good battle against the Windstreak family, which is fun to watch. And of course, you can't talk about Max without talking about his most important episode called Do I Hear a Ralts? An episode where Max must take a Ralts to a Pokemon Center, but he's all alone, and he has to fight off Team Rocket, and honestly, it was Max's highlight episode, getting to see him alone, getting to see him using his brain, getting to see him stand up to Team Rocket and command the Ralts, and honestly, it's that episode alone that just makes you really wish you could see Max as a Pokemon trainer, because you think, oh man, he'd actually be really fun to watch in battle. See, it's episodes like that as a kid that always made me excited for Max. It's a character where, as a kid, I always got attached to the idea of things I knew would never happen, but I wanted to happen. It's like, as a kid, you always wanted to see Max do something, but you knew it would never happen. And that's what made Max so lovable. He's a character where you know nothing's going to happen, so you're excited when something does happen. And I don't get why the fandom hates him. He's not nearly as annoying as Tracy or Silent or Bonnie. Honestly, Max is an enjoyable character, and I think the fandom hates him way too much. Now let's move on to Team Rocket, who, they do have more definable personalities here than ever before. First off, their Arbok and Weezing, the last members of their original team, both leave, and while it might be sad to see them go, most people regard this as one of the best Team Rocket episodes, and I can see why. It shows Team Rocket actually being heroes, actually standing up to somebody bad, sending Arbok and Weezing away to save a group of Ekans and Coughing who are being captured. It's a great episode, and it's one of the times where Team Rocket's a hero, but of course, because they're heroes, Ash and all that never get to see it. But it's an episode everyone remembers. But then you've got Jessie, who, now she's got more personality because she starts to enter contests. On one hand, she doesn't get the success she'll get in later contests. On the other hand, when she's not cheating, she does show she knows what she's doing and has some good contest routines, even if she gets defeated pretty quickly. Then you've got she has her Survivor, which was a great Pokemon and honestly more memorable than Arbok. And you've got Dustox, who she kind of caught it hoping it would be a Beautifly, but she got a Dustox. We did have a funny running gag where both her and May had a Silcoon and a Cascoon, and she thought it was a Silcoon, but then it became a Dustox. But it was still a fun moment, and honestly, Dustox, again, more memorable. That's the thing, I love the Arbok and Weezing leaving episode, but their Hoenn Pokemon to me are more memorable and get used more, probably because Jesse's in more contests. And what about James? Once again, he gets shown as the caring one, where he's got Cacnea, a Pokemon which he befriended, didn't catch. And then you've got Chimecho, who rarely battles and is just caught because James finds it cute. And it gets some good moments when... It's like Wobbuffet. It doesn't do much often, but when it does, it actually has good moments when it uses Heal Bell. Plus, Chimecho did get some good moments in Jesse's contest. Plus, James actually got a good moment with the Pokeringer contest. He came second place, but it showed he really knew what he's doing. He didn't cheat the entire contest. Although he didn't win, he made it to second place completely legitimately and was a good, tough competitor for Ash, easily beat May, and honestly it proved that James knew what he was doing. Now, one thing we have better than Johto is we have the evil teams. We have Team Magma, we have Team Aqua. But compared to later evil teams, their arcs aren't as well fleshed out. Their end goal is not really talked about until their final episode, and their episodes seem kind of random. Their goals aren't really known, and they don't have as much appearance as you think they would. We have Team Aqua showing up in Rustboro City, which was a good, nice reference to the games, because we have the stuff with the Devon Corporation and Mr. Briny. We have the Mount Chimney episode, which was a fun episode, and again, it got to have another Aqua versus Magma episode. You have the Weather Institute, where we meet a cool Team Magma guy who can transform. But that's it. You have like 3 episodes, and you don't know anything about their goals, and you don't know anything about Maxie or Archie until their actual appearances, which are in their final episodes, which their final episodes were actually enjoyable. Those were the best episodes I loved as a kid, and I still love them now. I do agree it's a bit odd that we didn't see Maxie or Archie or anything about them until these final episodes, or learn anything about Groudon and Kyogre. But when we got to the episodes, they were great. There was so much happening. You got to have Lance come back and help them out. You got to have Maxie, Archie, Groudon, Kyogre. You got to have that really cool moment where like Pikachu has the blue orb. Honestly, it was incredible. It was fun to watch. It was a little anticlimactic how, okay, Groudon fights Kyogre a little bit. Kyogre stops and it's like, okay, we're done. They just leave. But I suppose everything building up to that was incredibly good. It was finally nice to have an action story. And one of the few 2-parters. There'll be later good episodes like this in Battle Frontier and Sinnoh with Team Galactic. But this was at least, hey, the writers were trying something new, and I'm glad they did, because honestly, they needed some sort of story, and this is as good as we got for now. But at least they're trying. The only other little we didn't get that many mini arcs. We did have occasional show-up characters like Professor Birch or Oak popping up a few times. But the only time we had another mini arc was Misty. Misty did come back in Season 7. She showed up for a 2-part episode involving the Mirage Kingdom and Togepi. This was Misty's highlight episode because Togepi finally does something, it finally has a story, it finally evolves. It's the episode where Misty says goodbye to Togepi, well, now Togetic, one of her most iconic Pokemon, and it's just fun to see whenever somebody comes back. It's fun whenever Misty or any character from older episodes comes back and we get to see them, like, meet the newer characters and see all the newer stuff. It's just fun whenever somebody comes back, so it was great to see Misty come back. Although I've never been that fond of her, it was great to see her come back, and it was great to see her interact with people like Max. She especially did have good moments with Max. Plus, take note, although Misty's role was often stopping Brock whenever he did that dumb running gag with females, and now legitimately did copy it. Notice, Max is never the one to pull on Brock's ear until after the Misty episode. But again, the Misty episodes were really good, a good, enjoyable villain, a good, enjoyable story, and it was episodes where, even though we weren't dealing with the main stuff, they managed to fill it with something good. So, like I said, no room for filler, no room for anything. Like I said, between May's contests, Ash's gym battles, the League, and arcs like Team Magma and the Misty arc taking up multiple episodes, there's practically no room for filler. There's handfuls of filler episodes, but even half the filler episodes are at least memorable or enjoyable. You've got memorable episodes like Do I Hear a Waltz? You've got really memorable episodes such as a Scared to Remember, which is the episode where Pikachu gets amnesia and joins Team Rocket. And again, as a kid, I absolutely loved that episode. It blew my mind. It was fun to watch. It's over as quick as it begins, but it was really fun to watch in the moment it happened. Then you've got other really weird episodes like the Baltoy time travel episode, which, yeah, it's one of the few times they do time travel, and the time travel makes no sense, but oh well, there's going to be time travel in later episodes too. But like I said, there's not much filler, and the filler we do have is often memorable episodes, and you barely go 2 or 3 episodes before you've got something important like a contest or an evolution. The other good improvements is, once again, just like Johto, the soundtrack is incredible. If you thought the remixes of the game music was good in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, go listen to the anime soundtrack. The remixes for some of the Hoenn themes, like the Magma Battle, the Final Battle, the Elite Four Battle, all of those things are incredible. And of course, you've got Advanced Adventure, the main theme. Again, incredible. The soundtrack is incredible in these episodes, and it's still going good. Honestly, they really do good remixes of game music, and people don't appreciate it nearly enough. The animation near the end of Hoenn did get another upgrade where it's not nearly as noticeable. They're still doing it in digital. The only changing thing is some attacks like Bubble Beam are now in CGI, like you'll see in Sinnoh, and Pikachu's coloring has changed slightly. But in Hoenn, for the most of Hoenn, he was bright yellow. Now he's a slightly faded yellow, which you're used to seeing if you've watched a lot of Sinnoh episodes. And then you've got the ending, which, again, it's a nice bridge in a lead-in to Battle Frontier. You see Ash learn about Battle Frontier. You have a great episode where he goes home and sees all of his old Pokemon, all of his old friends. The bridge to Battle Frontier is so good. It's not really a gap because it's sort of like going to the Orange Islands or going to Johto, where it just happens. There's no big abrupt change. That'll come later. So all in all, if I haven't said it already, Hoenn deserves way more credit than it gets. For some reason, fans seem to forget Hoenn. They love the original series because people are Gen 1ers. They love Sinnoh for obvious reasons, which I'll talk about. But Hoenn seems to get overlooked because Ash doesn't have many rivals, or for some reason people don't really care about contests, but I just love contests. People overlook them so much, and you're just missing out if you don't care about them. There's more to Pokemon than just Ash battling a generic gym leader. Honestly, there's so much good in Hoenn. There's so much. I know I'm probably talking half of this out of nostalgia, but honestly, when I went into this, I figured, oh yeah, there'll be filler. But when I was watching it, I was legitimately shocked how few filler there was and how good the pacing was. It's incredible. Hoenn, honestly, the fandom needs to watch Hoenn way more, and if you think I love Hoenn, just wait till you see Battle Frontier. The pacing is even better, there's even less filler, Ash and May are even better. Oh boy, I can't wait to get to Battle Frontier. It's my favorite, and I will eventually review it. These have been taking longer and longer because the seasons get longer and longer, but Battle Frontier is relatively short, so it won't be as long to review, and honestly, I love it so much. There's a lot crammed in it. Enough about that. Next time, I will review the Battle Frontier journey. See you next time.